Welcome to Keeping Up with Our Community, a podcast for and about Romeo Community Schools. Each week, we will invite different guests to share insights about some unique aspects of our schools. This podcast is powered by the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than MIT TV. Their in-studio podcast experience allows you to record perfect audio and capture amazing video. That's all right here at the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan. Contact them now via email for a free consultation and schedule a visit at mit.tvpodcast@gmail.com. That's mitt.tvpodcast@gmail.com. Hello, my name is Marianne Brush, and I'm the Communications and Marketing Supervisor for Romeo Community Schools. It is my pleasure to introduce episode 23 of the Keeping Up with Our Community Schools podcast. In today's episode, we will hear from the supervisor and mentors from Romeo's Virtual Academy on the benefits of online learning. I will now turn it over to Jennifer McFarland, Assistant Superintendent of Academic Services, to host this episode, beginning with introducing our guests.
All right. So welcome to the podcast around our Romeo Virtual Academy, or RVA as we like to call it. So we'll just go around the table, introduce yourself, maybe talk a little bit about how long you've been with Romeo and your role within RVA. So we'll start with Mike.
Hi, my name is Mike Stabley. I've been a mentor with RVA for the last 3 years. I've been a coach in the district for going on my third decade, 26 years, and really love being a part of RVA.
Yeah, and you coach wrestling, football?
Wrestling and football.
Nice.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you for doing that.
Okay.
Yes, indeed. Hello there. My name's Amy Maruka. I'm the supervisor of RVA. I've been with Romeo for a year and a half. In a past life, I was a middle school principal for lots of years. I retired actually and realized, it doesn't take that long to clean the basement and you miss kids. So I came back and I love being with RVA.
And you started as a mentor.
I did.
And then when Mr. Mino retired, you had expressed interest. So here you are as the supervisor.
I know. Isn't it funny? Things kind of come together and I feel like end up where they should or where they're supposed to. So yeah, I'm so happy.
Excellent. And then our third member of the podcast is Maureen.
Hi, I'm Maureen Angeli, and I actually started with Romeo Schools in 2004-2005. I did my internship at Croswell Elementary when it was open and just sort of subbed on and off for like many years. And then I got a call around 2020 that they needed some help in the DEM Academy as a counselor. And so I accepted that sub position. And then the following year, it turned into, RVA was officially established, I suppose. And I was asked to be a mentor. And so that was 3 years ago. And here I am today.
And you have a counseling background.
I do.
Yes.
So I have a counseling degree. And I have to say, even though I'm not using it, this is probably the next best thing to be doing, working as a mentor.
So you talked a little bit about the beginnings of the Romeo Virtual Academy, and I had to look back in history. And believe it or not, I presented to the Board of Education on March 9th, 2020. About creating a virtual program. And if you remember, later that week, we got shut down. Right? Fortuitous for sure. And so at their April board meeting, which happened to be virtual, they approved the Romeo Virtual Academy. So it began in the 2020-2021 school year. So I'd like to just begin talking about what Romeo Virtual offers students, kind of your role as a mentor and how you support kids, and we'll just go from there. So who'd like to start first about what RVA offers to our secondary students?
I'm happy to start.
Okay.
I think that to me, the greatest thing RVA offers is hope for families in a tight spot. And tight spots come from lots of different results or from a lot of different circumstances, I guess. So we get students who can't be in school all day due to health concerns. we get students who can't be with us in person because they are pursuing something that might end up being a career. They're on a travel team, they're doing pretty well, and they have to practice during the day, or they have ice time during the day. And then we do have students who struggle with being credit deficient, and we're there to scoop them up as well. So to me, we're the answer for a lot of students who are in that tight spot and they want their education. It's not for a lack of wanting, it's just they can't be there during the day. So I love that we can scoop them up and support them.
Mike or Maureen, anything to add about?
If you'd like to go first, or
Okay. I was just thinking about some of our students who are really high flyers and have great time management skills, and they can get a lot done in a short period, and it opens up other opportunities to do other things out in the community or sports wise, or even traveling. Like I've had a family that traveled a lot.
Right. And I know we have some students, Mike, you might have some more of the seniors or juniors that actually work during the day.
Sure.
And then they do their coursework late at night and you're checking in on them.
Yes, ma'am. My biggest thing, and kind of piggybacking off the word hope, is opportunity. Before this became a thing, thank you, by the way, for proposing this, RVA, the opportunities that are afforded kids who are pursuing goals, traveling all over the country, all over the world to compete and dance or
wrestling.
various
We have
sports.
some female wrestlers.
Yes. But those opportunities would not be able to be afforded without RVA.
Yeah.
Because the time that they need to train, and my biggest thing, because I have those students, is I tell them, look, if you get your work done and you're on time to meet with me and everything is good, my job as a mentor is to make you successful. Whatever I have to do to make you successful, whatever you need, I'm there.
Yeah.
Okay. So if it means you need a question answered on the platform, or I need to talk to Mrs. Maruka about getting a class added or changed or whatever, let's do it. Let's make you successful, whatever we have to do. Those opportunities RVA gives kids, or if it's kids that need extra credits and they're finishing their classes and we can throw in a couple more classes for them to get them done.
Right.
Those opportunities are huge for some kids, and it does give them hope because they have that opportunity.
Yeah, and before we had RVA, we didn't have any other place for students to go who struggled in our system. It was, well, we can send you to these other programs, but it's really great that we have people like you and who are passionate about supporting students, and we have the ability through Romeo Virtual Academy to offer those opportunities, as you called them, and hope to families and students that we have. So I'm going to ask a little bit about what kind of supports, Mike, you talked a little bit about, let's make it happen, I can do that. You talked a little bit about weekly meetings. What does that look like as a mentor and a student who's in RVA? Talk about what mentor meetings look like.
So we have, at least in mine are pretty much stacked. Some of the other mentors, theirs could be a little bit more spread out, but they're in 15-minute increments. We meet at the same time every week. And two of my biggest things are, I want you to make sure you get your work done and be on time for your meet. So they're on time for their meet. We're there. We have our dialogue. We talk about what they've worked on the previous week. Talk to me about a lesson that stood out to you and that maybe had an impression on you. We talk about that a little bit further. And then we set a goal for the following week. And if there's anything, I ask them, one of the last things I ask them before we're done is, is there anything else I could be doing for you to help you be successful? Is there anything you need? And a lot of them have easy access to me. So if they need to text me or call me, they can do that, and I can get them a quick answer back. Or if I don't have the answer, I can refer to Mrs. Maruka, whoever else I need to get that answer.
Yeah.
But that's basically, in a nutshell, what my capacity is as far as a mentor. And I check on them, and if they're not doing work, and it's a Saturday, they may get a text from, Mr. Stabley
Yeah.
and say, hey, you haven't done anything since Wednesday. Let's go.
Take it in gear, right?
Right. And it's a little bit of a motivator, a little bit of get it in gear, but, some students need that.
Absolutely.
And I know Mrs. Angeli, she does a little bit further with the middle school kids with the advisory. So that would be another level that she takes it to.
Yeah, well, another
with the
layer
younger students,
of support with
Yeah.
6th, 7th, or 8th graders in virtual. Tell us a little bit about that.
And I also wanted to mention something that Mike was talking about, hope. For some of the students, this is the first time that they've really felt successful in school. I don't know if you've had students express that. And I think that's super important to feel like you're successful. So thank God for this program for that reason. But yeah, so the middle school students have an advisory class. So we do that in RVA as well. Now, of course, I'm doing a lot of what Mike's doing too. We only have 15 minutes. So, I have to try to pack as much as I can in that 15 minutes. But I basically take a version of, it's from Positive You, Kenny Spears, who's in the schools.
Yeah.
And we take a video or a clip or like a question that he asks, and I put that into the advisory question that I email out. And they can either respond through an email or we can discuss it.
Okay.
And the nice thing about that is sometimes it opens up a discussion that we may not have otherwise had.
Right.
Especially that's where the counseling piece comes in.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
that's
good fit.
right. Yeah, that's a great way to get a dialogue going that probably wouldn't have happened if I hadn't asked some of those. They're a little more personal, the questions. So that's another piece of what I do. And again, that's with my middle schoolers, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. The other thing too with the middle schoolers is for me, I have a lot more parent interaction. I don't know if you have as much parent interaction, Mike, if you've noticed, because I've noticed I have every grade level.
Probably.
Okay. Yes, you do have the band of
sixth
through
6th through 12th. And I would say probably at least half of my middle schoolers, the parent is on the call as well. They're on the Google Meet.
And that's not such a bad idea because at 6th, 7th, 8th grade, you might not be as self-directed yet. So that support at home really
is important.
Make the student more successful. So
yeah, they're definitely not as independent as the high schoolers.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you, can you think of a success story that you would be willing to share on the podcast?
I have a recent one.
Okay.
And it was actually pretty cool. Like I can't help but smile even when I think about it. And I've had a few, but this one was just happened when we got this student. He was really struggling, and we kind of went rounds in the beginning on how to. I'm not dude. I'm not bro.
I'm an adult in your life, right? Not your friend.
And we worked through that. And then it was trying to get work done, obviously, and then meeting with me. And I felt like I was chasing him quite a bit, but then we kind of had a little breakthrough. Not this last Thanksgiving, but the Thanksgiving before. And it was over Thanksgiving break when I didn't really expect him to be working, but he had some downtime, and I don't know, I was just randomly checking. I had a couple of minutes. I was like, let me see how he's doing. So I checked in, and holy cow, he did a lot of work. And the first thing I did was, because he wasn't responding, I also had his mother on my phone so I could ring her if he wasn't meeting. And the first thing I did was I sent a text to her. And I said, I just want to let you know what a fantastic job he's done over a holiday break, which is pretty amazing because most students are taking the time. And the funny thing is, and this is kind of where I go with it, is some of these parents are only used to hearing from people like us when something's wrong. And I wanted to give her this on a Friday that something was going really well. And he told me that made for a really good weekend.
I bet.
And I think that really showed him that I was on his side, because genuinely I am on their side. I want them to be successful.
Right.
And whatever I have to do to get that motivated, let's do it. And ever since then, he'd been a rock star, and against all odds, he ended up finishing.
Nice.
And randomly, and he didn't have my number, but his dad texted me out of nowhere on a Saturday. just thanking me for everything. And it was pretty cool. And I shared it with Mrs. Maruka, and just because it was like, wow, I didn't expect that, but it was just I like being, people who have done this. I mean, to get where you're at, to get where we're all at, somebody has been there for us and done right by us. And my whole thing is I want to do that for others.
Yeah.
And I think we're doing that for him, and we're doing that for a lot of kids. And that's a really cool thing.
So he's going to get a diploma.
Yes, ma'am.
He's going to be a high school graduate.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe Mrs. Maruka might have shared that email with.
I think I might
I
have.
think she might have sent it my way too. And that's what RVA is for, right? Yeah. And as Amy had started about hope, and Mike, you talked about opportunity. It's really giving students an opportunity with support in a different way. So you do virtual meetings. We also have lab time. You know, you've got a pretty cool setup with high top tables and comfortable, weird looking furniture. And,
We do.
you know, where kids could come in and they can eat lunch if they're there during lunchtime over at the 9th grade academy.
Yes.
And it's just a different way of learning and getting kids an opportunity to earn that diploma where else, you know, they might not have else gotten one.
Yes.
Especially on the block schedule now at the high school, right? That's a lot for kids to navigate 8 classes versus a typical 6 and 90-minute classes and every other day. And I know students who may struggle with organization and anxiety and different things, that's overwhelming to them, and they get so far behind, especially when they learn, what credit means as a 9th grader. Because in middle school, it doesn't count, right?
Yeah, you know what? Speaking of that, not to interrupt,
No.
I have a success story too.
Oh, share
if we have
it.
a minute.
Yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
okay. Okay, because I was thinking about that, about credit. And when you're in middle school, it doesn't matter. Well, I mean,
It does.
grades matter.
Correct.
Grades matter, but you're not earning
They
credit.
don't understand the credit piece.
Right. So I had a student come, and I got to make sure I don't say his name. And he started in 7th grade, and he wasn't very motivated and falling behind quite a bit. Grades weren't fantastic. And I said, hey, look, you know, when you get to 9th grade, you're going to be earning credits. And it's very important that you have to develop an organizational system here. You've got to stay on top of your work. Yeah. And so 8th grade came and went, not great. But by 9th grade, he realized, like, I better get it together. And he did.
Good.
And he actually was following something that we call the target due date, which on the Lincoln Learning platform, which is what the students are using, it helps them pace themselves.
Nice.
So instead of just randomly deciding, like, well, I guess I'll work in math today, or I'll work in English, or I'll do a little bit in history, they can actually follow this target due date, and it helps them, which is nice, especially for our younger students or people who don't have great organizational skills. Anyway, he's doing amazing. He has amazing grades, and he actually finished early.
Nice.
Which was
Amazing.
phenomenal for him. Yes.
Oh, that's outstanding.
So he really made a big change over the past, few years.
And I think about our profile of a graduate and those skills that we want all of our students to leave with. You know, it really is about being able to be self-directed and goal set. And you talked about, using the resources that are given to you. So is anybody going to commencement? Watch their kids walk?
Yes.
Heck yes.
Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait.
Wouldn't miss it.
June 6th, Arena.
Yes,
If you need a ticket, let me know.
Oh,
yeah.
yes.
So it's awesome to see these kids are Romeo High School students and Romeo Middle School students. So unless they're there for a reason where they can't participate in something, they can go to prom, they go to commencement, they can be part of athletics or after school clubs and activities.
Yeah.
And I think that's important for our listeners and parents to understand that, it's an option for them to get their courses in a virtual format, but they're still a Romeo Middle School or Romeo High School student. And that's really important because there are a lot of virtual programs out there, and you wouldn't get a Romeo diploma. So that's pretty cool.
And I think the percentage of our kids who take advantage of those things is telling. They want to go to prom. They want to go to the picnic. They want to, they feel part of their class because they are.
They are.
They're not a separate, group.
Right.
I appreciate too the fact, we touched on lab time and how we do have the lab available. And, on occasion we have students who aren't working up to pace, and we kind of use that as a motivator and say, you're going to need to come into the lab. If I don't see a lot more
Right.
this week, come on. And it'll get to the point where, okay, you need to come in. We have to have you. But what I love about that is the percentage who keep coming.
Oh, nice.
Like they don't have to come.
Right.
Like they catch up and we still see those faces
Yeah.
coming through the door.
It's true.
I love that.
So there's
It's
still
like-
that social opportunity for them too, right?
Absolutely.
Because you don't want them just maybe if they are home, by themselves because parents are working or whatnot, but for them
Yeah.
to be able to come in and get some social interaction and some FaceTime with people.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a good
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
And it's a cozy environment.
It
It's
is.
warm. It's inviting. It's
Yeah.
fun. I love walking into the lab. I feel good about coming to work every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned Amy. I kind of skip in sometimes. Spring in my step because it's a nice place to be.
Yeah. Were you the one that discovered the broken window and the
No.
No. Good gravy.
that was Mrs.
That was an
Yarima.
interesting story. So, but
Right.
yeah.
It was.
Yeah.
He wanted to come to RVA.
I know.
too.
He heard good things about it.
Those are good things.
He heard awesome things about Romeo Virtual Academy. Yeah. So, let's talk about, we know students within our district, we have a process if they would like to move from in-seat into the virtual academy. If families are listening or anyone is listening in our area and they're interested in joining Romeo Virtual Academy as a student, how would they go about that?
So they would go to they could do a couple things, but they could go to the website and they would look at the enrollment tab. And if they click on that, it details what exactly would be needed in order to exercise a school of choice application, who they can talk to with their questions about those. And I've talked through the schools of choice information with lots and lots of families. So I'm a good person, kind of a first line of contact. The nice thing about that is they usually have questions about how do I get enrolled, but tell me about RVA. So we can kind of take care of all of that in one conversation. So call me or click on enrollment and talk with Tracy and we'll get them going.
And see if it's the right fit because, sometimes it's not.
For sure.
But
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We do find that, high school students tend to transition into RVA a little more easily than a younger student, which kind of stands to reason, I think. They're a little bit older. There's some maturity. They're more self-directed. But certainly we can make it work if it is the right fit.
Right. And I think what's important to understand is that it's a learning platform. Mrs. Angeli mentioned Lincoln Learning. There is a teacher behind it, but it's not a live teacher. It's not live instruction. The student really needs to go through the lessons independently. The teacher behind the scenes can answer content questions if the mentors can't, but the mentors really aren't teaching
Correct.
the course. So a student really has to be able to navigate that platform and really watch the lessons and the videos and really be focused on learning that content, especially at 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. It can be challenging for those
Right.
students. Yeah.
The teachers do have office hours, though.
Oh, that's
So
right.
they can schedule,
Appointments with them.
yes,
Yeah.
the teachers, and, they'll make themselves available.
Yeah. And I think we have some people that know some things in the lab and, they can answer some content questions for
Yeah,
sure,
we
but
do.
not the wealth of all the courses that our
Right.
students take. So,
We do have quite a few students in RVA who also happen to have IEPs, and those teachers really have been great about making themselves available, coming into the lab, meeting their students in the lab, giving them extra
Nice.
help.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
the support is pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing what we were able to do in a pandemic and now look.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't because of it that we created RVA, but it really has become
Yeah.
something. I don't know this year's percentage, but we've been in the low 90 percentage of students earning a diploma.
Yeah. And I believe we'll stay there.
Excellent.
This year.
Yeah, very good. So, Mr. Stabley, anything that you want to add about being a mentor or RVA in general?
Well, getting back to the opportunity thing, and we're talking about students from outside, I've actually had conversations with even homeschooled families, and, they talk about the difficulties of having class for their kids and making sure that they're doing this and that, but they have so many other enrichments that they like to do with music or whatever. And I said, why don't you just take one thing out of the equation and put them in RVA,
Yeah.
where they can get a Romeo education and you still have time for your enrichment because you're not tethered into an 8x3 or a 7 to 2:30 every day. So I think, again, going back to that opportunity thing, that gives them the opportunity to have the freedom to do those things that they want and still get their education without having to, and they have actual teachers teaching those
Right.
classes, you know.
That are certified teachers.
Correct.
In that subject matter. Yeah. Hadn't thought about that kind of audience to get to. So
Sure.
thanks for sharing
It's-
that one.
I've been, yeah, I mean,
Lots of
there's lots of different-
possibilities, right? And a lot of different students. I remember a few years ago we had competing voice and what's the other one? American Idol. So we had
right.
students that were in that competition and moving through, and RVA was great for them because that flexibility of having to go to live shows and be in studio and different things like that. I think that was really a great opportunity that they could keep being a Romeo student
Yes.
while they navigated those two shows. Mrs. Angeli, anything we didn't get to that you wanted to talk about?
Well, I mean, I think just like I mentioned, this is probably the next best thing, being a mentor, even though I have a counseling degree and I'm not working as a counselor. I really like this because if I were in the school, which would be wonderful, but I would have a big caseload.
Yes.
And in RVA, you know, I have a smaller caseload. It's a little more intimate. I really get to know my students. I know their parents. I know their hobbies. I know what they like to do. We talk about what they're doing on the weekend. I know their birthdays. I just feel like I really know them very well. And I just wouldn't be able to have that same experience if I were working as a counselor in a school.
With 300 or 400 some students, right?
Yeah,
and I think
right.
that's a key that we offer with Romeo Virtual that other virtual programs don't offer is really that intimate, small caseload for the mentors, and you really get the opportunity to know those students. And Mike, you shared you've got them over a variety of years. So you talked about that young man who, last Thanksgiving, now this, and you can see them throughout their, their journey and their path. And that's unique, I think, again, about our virtual program than some other virtual platforms.
There's a more personal touch to it, I think, and again, like Maureen said, you get to know families and, like I was telling Amy earlier today, I was on the phone with a dad for another student, a different student, just for something ancillary. And he was like, I'll take care of it. No worries, blah, blah, blah. And I relayed it back to her. Just, we're trying to work on something, but I can call them and they can call me.
Right.
And the communication's great. And if you have 400 kids, like you said, it's a
Yes.
little difficult to do.
It's a little hard, right? Yeah. All right, Amy, supervisor, anything that I missed or you wanted to share about RVA for our listeners?
I would just say about the mentorship, that is the secret sauce, and the beauty of the mentors we have on staff is that they are not carbon copies of one another. Quite the opposite. But that's the beauty, because when I get a new student, as I'm getting to kind of talk with the parents and know them, the question I'm answering is, okay, who does this person need in their life? Do they need Maureen Angeli? Do they need Mike Stabley? Do they need Laura Smudka? Do they need one of our new mentors? Do they need Charla? Do they need Becky? Because everybody brings something unique to the table that serves, I think, certain students better than others. So I love that we have that flexibility to pair people up with adults that will kind of help move them forward in their life. And I don't know who came up with the formula for the meetings where we set a goal. I don't know if that was Mr. Mino or if that was you when you proposed.
I think it was a team effort.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's perfect. I mean, when Mr. Mino told me that's how we run our meetings, I said, oh my gosh, Weight Watchers has nothing on us. This is exactly what you're supposed to do. What's your goal? But it works.
Right. And short term, right?
Exactly.
Week to week. Because if you're thinking a semester, that's a long time.
Yeah. Where are you going to be next week? What
Right.
would you like to get done? So I love this program. My family has benefited from this program. My son is graduating this year from it. And I'm just so thankful that we have it here in Romeo. And these students can remain Romeo Community School students because it's special and it matters.
Yeah.
And my son's going to be in it next year.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, and I think you touched upon some of our other mentor names, and we're really careful about who is the right fit to be a mentor, because it does take a special person to be willing to take this role on, and I so much appreciate all of you, and Mike and Maureen, I think you were some of our original OGs, mentors. So you've held on, and you're doing an outstanding job. And as we shared earlier, in the 90% for a virtual program for graduating students is really merit to you as the team and your colleagues that aren't on the podcast to get those students to that finish line and give them hope, as you said, and the opportunity to move on and do wonderful things in the universe. All right, with that, we'll end today's podcast. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again, Jennifer, for hosting, and a special thank you to our guests from Romeo Virtual Academy. If you think this would be a good fit for your child, please contact Amy Maruka, RVA Supervisor, at 586-281-1230. Up next, as part of our summer series, we will hear from elementary educators in a special episode for parents on how to prevent summer slide. Thank you for joining us, and tune in next week to keep up with Romeo Community Schools. This podcast is powered by the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or personal use, look no further than MIT TV. Their in-studio podcast experience allows you to record perfect audio and capture amazing video. That's all right here at the MIT TV of Romeo, Michigan. Contact them now via email for a free consultation and schedule a visit at mit.tvpodcast@gmail.com. That's mitt.tvpodcast@gmail.com.